Oh yes! Hello Internet and welcome to the Free-to-Play cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. This is episode 143, it's June 17th, you're watching it on June 18th, and it's our E3 wrap-up. We're gonna cover all the free-to-play news, like, you know, both pieces, and it wasn't a very big E3 for free-to-play. And we'll go through some of the stuff that isn't free-to-play, just to get our opinions on there and hear yours. But joining me, like he always does, the grizzled veteran himself, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you?
I'm just preparing for the apocalypse because there's a tropical storm that's like right over top of us right now.
Oh, boy.
In theory, because it's kind of windy and it rained a little bit this morning. But I look on the radar, it looks really impressive. Big comma shape like all around.
And we're going to have to get the news in quick in case you've got to hit the shelter.
Yeah. I feel like I should be Jim Cantori or something and be like, and here's a report from E3 as I get rain, splashing into my face.
All right, let's slide over and cover some E3 news. All right, so, yeah, kind of a disappointing E3 as far as free-to-play goes, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching pretty much all the conference. I had like a Word file or open, just ready. I was like, I'm gonna type details down. I'm gonna type stuff down.
Right.
I just watched. I'm like, there's nothing to type up, really.
Yeah, and when you compare it to last year, I expected free-to-play news to be a bit bigger this year because it was pretty big last year. Like almost every marquee company had something free-to-play to say.
Yeah.
Whether Microsoft and even Nintendo got a little bit in on it, and Sony, of course, was all over it because that was a huge beating point with Microsoft at the time. But then you had your Square Enix and all these other publishers getting in on it, and this year it was like a handful of free-to-play stories. It kind of became, all right, well, after this conference, do you want to write this one up, and I'll write this one up, and then we're done with E3 for the day? It was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, so, you know what this means, of course. Free-to-play is dead.
Yep, free-to-play is dead. You heard it from E3 first. So here's what I figure we'll do. We will go through and we'll cover there's about 5 or 6 pieces of free-to-play news, some of them bigger than others. We'll go through, give our opinions on them. Not a lot of, if any, actual footage to show you guys because, YouTube doesn't like us trying to actually put a decent show together and use trailers and stuff like that. YouTube hates that crap. So we'll kind of go through it, give our opinions, then we'll talk about E3 as a whole, and we'll get the viewers' opinions on it for next week as well. So first off, let's go with Battle Cry, and we're going to kind of take these, I guess, Jason, a good way to say it is in the order that they happened. So it's not big news to small news or anything like that. Battle Cry, from Battle Cry Studios and Bethesda, announced that they will be having sign-ups for their global beta that will launch later this year. What's your feeling on Battle Cry so far?
I got a chance to play it last year at QuakeCon, and I thought it was all right. I mean, we talk about MOBAs sort of being the thing, but what we're seeing a lot of now is these kind of battle arena games being a big thing. A lot of companies are putting out. You have Overwatch, Gigantic, Battleborn, I think all those kind of fit into that same sort of category, all kind of trying to sort of emulate the Team Fortress 2-ish kind of stylized combat, not hardcore military bros with guns kind of stuff. So I think that's neat, and I think it's something that a lot of companies are doing. And the weird thing is that when Battlecry was first announced, and I saw it, I was like, yeah, that looks really cool. I think that looks great. Now, though, like a year later, having seen all those other games I talk about, it just seems like it needs something else right now. Like, we haven't heard a whole lot about it. Again, just from what I've been looking at and what I've been paying attention to, it doesn't seem like it's gotten that same kind of word out there, not the same kind of energy surrounding it that a lot of those other games have. Maybe that's because it hasn't really been shown in any great capacity. Maybe that'll get helped out by the beta. But right now, it sort of almost seems like it's kind of on the lower end of stuff that people are excited about in that kind of genre.
Yeah, and it's got the whole stylized look to it, which I kind of dig.
They all have their style. All those games I talk about, they all have their style. This is theirs, and that's kind of part of it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with the stylized look, and it's going to feature 12v12 and 6v6 combat with multiple maps, multiple different game modes. But I'm kind of with you, and it seems like most of the internet is too. Reading comments not just on MMO Bomb, but on any gaming site that's covering it, the comments just seem kind of, Yeah. Oh, okay, so it's Bethesda's Team Fortress.
Mhm.
And then, of course, insert hat jokes here.
They do have some swell like metal helmets and stuff.
Yeah, and they are talking about a lot of customization as far as even though you don't have the ability to make a character, right? You're picking from a stock bunch of heroes,
Mm.
but you do have the ability to customize the hero that you like to a certain degree.
You
So I
know
guess there's that.
that's as general as anything. If everything's
Yeah,
changed without customization, what is it then?
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not super excited for Battle Cry. To be honest, I'm probably more excited, and let's see what you think. I'm probably more excited for Blizz to bring out,
Overwatch.
yeah, to bring out Overwatch than I am Battle Cry, and I couldn't even really tell you why. I mean, they both look like very similar games,
Well,
but Blizz I just think is going to give it a little more polish, a little more personality than I'm used to from Bethesda slash Battlecry Studios.
one of the things too is like we talk about that. It's like Battlecry just hasn't been out there much, it seems. Whereas with Overwatch, we're getting. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've watched a lot of those videos, like
Yeah,
individual matches, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Look at that character do that. That's so awesome. And all these characters, I've read up the stories on some of them too, and it's like, again, maybe it's there, and maybe I just haven't looked at the site a whole lot, but there just doesn't seem to be that same kind of stuff for Battlecry right now to really get people interested and enthused about the game.
which is odd for a game that's going to go to global beta this year.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
well,
halfway through
not
the
that
year
far off.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So signups are up. If you want to check out Battlecry, you can go to the article on mmobomb.com. We've linked to the sign up page. You can get your butt into a beta sign up. We don't have a date for the actual beta itself yet, but shouldn't be too far. I mean, it's going to be this year, and you only got 6 months left, so
Pretty much.
don't think it's going to be too far. Speaking of Bethesda, though, this was right up your alley.
Hmm.
Or in your wheelhouse of comfort from historical stuff that you've done. We're gonna get a Elder Scrolls card game, huh?
Yeah.
You sound thrilled.
Oh, I feel like it's 1995 all over again when everybody put out a CCG because Magic was popular.
Yep, Elder Scrolls Legends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too far to say, oh, it's a Hearthstone clone because we don't know anything about it yet in terms of actual gameplay. But to say that they definitely look at Hearthstone and see how well that did, yeah, that's part of why they're doing this, and I think people tend to feel that same way. That it feels like here's the one shocking thing that I found. Even the crappy videos that I put up on YouTube tend to get overwhelmingly thumbs up. It's really hard to have a video, unless you're just terrible, to have a video that has more thumbs down than thumbs up. Right now, this trailer has 2,557 thumbs up, 3,797 thumbs downs.
Wow.
To me, and maybe I'm internalizing this myself as a longtime Elder Scrolls fan, someone who played Morrowind and loved it when it first came out, and Oblivion, Skyrim, and I've touched Elder Scrolls Online. Between like this and Elder Scrolls Online, to some extent, it just seems like they're diluting the Elder Scrolls name. I don't know what the proper way to say this is. It's damaging the brand,
It's
I guess.
milking the IP is the way.
I know, and maybe that's the feeling of it, that they are trying to squeeze too much out of it, and it's just not. It's the key of Elder Scrolls game, as far as I think a lot of people would say, is the whole open world and free exploration
Right.
side of it, aspect of it, and the modding, which is also a big deal too. Elder Scrolls Online doesn't really have that, and a card game probably isn't going to either. So all you've got is a card game that basically uses the lore of Elder Scrolls, which is something I'm kind of interested in. I used to really read up on the lore of that sort of thing and whatnot. But if you're not, what is going to be here that you think is great? Because you're not going to mostly if you usually play the Elder Scrolls games, so you like the open exploration and whatever.
Yeah, all that's
You
out
can't
the
do that in
window.
a card game.
Yeah, it's all out the window.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to have the IP. I mean, Star Wars, the customizable card game, and Star Trek certainly had an element of letting the IP carry it out the gate initially. But what made them longer-term successes, maybe not huge blockbuster successes, but longer-term successes was a compelling gameplay.
Successful enough to get me a start in the gaming industry.
Right.
Pay me my
But
money.
here's the other thing, too. You mentioned Hearthstone. Keep in mind, we've got Magic Duels Origins
Oh, yeah.
coming out in July. as far as the PC, to be determined on the PlayStation 4. This game, Elder Scrolls Legends, is slated for PC and iOS. We don't have any date on it yet, but I can't imagine it's that far away. These types of games are usually announced and then very, very shortly come out because the development cycle is, once you have the core mechanics there, the rest is card design. And it's just how fast can we pump out cards, which you've already talked about when it comes to Hearthstone on the website, much to some commenters' chagrin. That article didn't go over well, comment-wise. Very few things go over comment-wise, though, so... I don't know. This one, it definitely screams to me milking the IP. I'm not terribly excited about it. Again, just like Battlecry, there's something else in this genre I'm more excited about if I have to pick something in this genre. And in this one, it's going to be Magic Duels Origins. Is what I'm more excited about. I'm not terribly excited about any of them, but that's the one that I want to get my hands on first before I want to play this. I am interested to see, though, how they can bring some of those trademark pieces of Elder Scrolls into this game. Besides, I want to see how they use the IP rather than just, hey, the back card design says Elder Scrolls, and it's kind of Elder Scrolls themey on the card art and the card. I'd like to see... I understand you can't do open world, right? It's just
Right.
you can't do that. But what if they could implement into the gameplay some of the traits of that fully customizable RPG character that you like? Like if you have the ability to really create your hero and make them unique to you, instead of like something like Hex, Shards of Fate, where you get a hero and really the only customization you have is adding items to that hero and some other odds and ends, but really creating your own hero in some type of way. Granted, you're not going to be able to do it in stats to a certain degree because you're going to start breaking the game as people start gaming your system. But bring me something Elder Scrolls in there. And the trailer obviously doesn't really show us much because it's just art.
Yeah, some level of customization would be nice, but the thing is, and again, this is something you learn from all the years of trading card games. You just can't be too crazy and too out of the. All the games that have done really well are the ones that have mostly stayed pretty close to the Magic formula, which is kind of what Hearthstone is.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say that you can really be too innovative with what you're going to do.
I'm interested to see how they use the IP. But I'm more interested if I've got to pick a card game in Magic Origins.
See, I'm almost figuring there's 80% chance it is just new skins. It's Elder Scrolls stuff. You have
just
Vivek
like
instead of Ragnaros or whatever.
just like we're seeing with Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm.
What else? BioWare. Let's go to BioWare, who dropped probably the biggest piece of free-to-play news at E3. In a new expansion, and honestly, I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting a new expansion announcement, and I wasn't. If I, in the back of my head, maybe thought they didn't expect its release cycle, its release window. I certainly didn't expect it this soon, because we saw with the previous expansion, Shadow of Revan, story. You went to BioWare, talked to them, and they said, "Hey, Jason, story. We're going back to story." And so I expected that content to maybe give them some more time, and as far as updates and expansions go, maybe not updates, but expansions go, they could have done some more. Although, if you play through Shadow of Revan, this does really complete that storyline. So they really, where were you going to go with updates? You really kind of got to move on to the next expansion and start telling the next story. So I guess it kind of makes sense in the grand scheme of things. But we will see Knights of the Fallen Empire, and we will see it this year, October 27th.
It's like 4 months from now.
4 months from now. And I'm going to read you a little quote here. The largest story-driven expansion to date.
And for once, I'm kind of convinced that it's not hyperbole.
Why?
Because they seem to have this completely new story. If you watch the trailer, you see the two brothers or whatever. If you're gonna play as a kind of a new character, kind of your old character. I don't know how exactly that works, that whole Outlander thing. You get 8 new story.
I'm kind of cheating to show people some of this footage, though. I
I
have
don't.
our
Shh,
page pulled
don't
up,
tell, dude.
and I'm pressing play on the video on our page, hoping that YouTube will not recognize.
Just keep it muted. Uh,
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean, 8 new storylines, so one for each class. So I mean, that's a lot of stuff. I mean, the Revan stuff was basically just one storyline. You follow the same one no matter what class you were. But now this is even more like going back to your roots, going back to the original game experience, where you had all 8 classes and did your own thing.
Yeah, 8 different stories to explore, one for each class. New team of allies to build to assist in your journeys. And the story revolves around a pair of brothers, one Republic and one Sith, and how you kind of fit in there, we really don't know yet. Now, the expansion itself will be free to subscribers
Mm-hmm.
on October 27th. So it's not like some of the previous expansions where you had to purchase the expansion even if you were a subscriber. A bunch of in-game goodies, of course. We also got information that subscribers will receive a free level 60 character. Not a boost, though. So if you have like a level 20, you're not going to be able to boost it to level 60. You're going to be able to create a free level 60 from scratch if you're a subscriber. Now, the other side of that is you will also be able to buy a level 60 from the cash shop going forward. Ugh. Ugh. And we don't have a lot of details on companions and where you're going to be in your class story with a free 60. We do know that BioWare is looking at expanding character slots, probably by 2, although they haven't locked that in yet, to accommodate these new characters. I like the idea of characters at that level. Here you go. Check out the new content, particularly for subscribers who most likely already have at least one max level character, if not multiple, in Star Wars. But I don't. Now it's a cash shop item too. So here we go again. Blizz did it with World of Warcraft. Rift did it to a certain extent with, or Trion did it with Rift to a certain extent. And now here we go with BioWare doing what you are always a big fan of, totally eliminating all of the content, the leveling content that you spent all that time developing, and there's good stuff there, if you're talking about the story, particularly in Star Wars, but now totally relegating it to the realm of the pointless.
Here's where I'll give them a bit of leeway in this. Again, I'm not exactly sure. Well, I'll read what it says here on the site. It says, it says start at level 60. You will
Yep.
become the Outlander, a level 60 veteran of the Great Galactic War. So I could understand maybe if I'm a subscriber or if I'm a long-time player or whatever, and I've got my level 60, Sith warrior or whatever, and I've played through all sorts of adventures with him. I've done this, done that, done everything. Maybe I don't want him to be the Outlander. Maybe I want to have. I have my own story for how he's gone. I don't want. It depends on exactly how this works. I don't want to transform him into the Outlander. So maybe starting with a new character and saying this is the Outlander now, being able to just go in new with it and fresh. Maybe I'd rather do something like that.
I think what's funny is every time we see Star Wars The Old Republic trailers, we get the same group of comments, and it's just about on any site, and it's usually like, oh man, that trailer makes me want to play again, but I
Then I
remember
the
what the game is and the cash shop and I totally agree on this one. Star Wars is a game that when I jump in to play Star Wars for a month or two, I sub. It's not even a thought in my head. I don't want to deal with the free-to-play restrictions, and to me, that screams that they've done free-to-play incorrectly from a consumer standpoint, but probably correctly by a financial standpoint, because they're getting my $15 for each month when I feel like jumping back in and playing.
Star Wars just got that hold on people, man.
They do. They do.
They tighten their grip in Star Systems.
They do a kick-ass trailer, though. And this trailer was very cool. Very cool.
Well, that's one thing SWTOR does great. Has great looking trailers, no doubt.
Well, that's like a Final Fantasy thing, too. Not so much with 14, because the story in-game is just as good. But when you think Final Fantasy as a franchise, one of the first things you think of is cutscenes, right? Beautiful cutscenes. Oh, the
Probably,
games? I don't know if they're any good, but the cutscenes are great.
it's probably because like here's the difference between a full motion video of Final Fantasy 14 and the in-game graphics engine.
Right.
Here's the difference between a video in SWTOR and the in-game graphics engine.
Good old Hero Engine. What else? Oh, this one's good news for you. Not really. You don't have an Xbox One,
Yeah,
do you?
not really. No.
World of Tanks will be releasing on the Xbox One. July 28th is the official date, so just around the corner, a little over a month away. Not only are you going to get all the World of Tanks goodness that's already in the game, but they're also going to add the Proving Grounds, which is a PvE mode where you run like 4 consecutive scenarios with some AI friends to help you accomplish goals and then fight a big boss fight at the end against an E100. So pretty cool if you're more into the PvE side of things, like I am. Cross
Care Bear.
console. What's that?
Care Bear.
Care Bear, that's me. Cross console play is supported, so if Jason's on a 360 and I'm on the Xbox One, we will be able to play together. Obviously, that is the extent of the cross platform. You're not going to be jumping to any other platforms, but 360 and Xbox One players will be able to play together. Beta, you will have a beta weekend, July 11th and 12th. You'll be able to download the client on the 10th. What do you think of this, Jason, as far as console World of Tanks? The 360 version's doing really well.
Hmm.
Where do you think the Xbox One version goes?
I guess for people who just upgraded to an Xbox One or thrown out their 360, I mean that's about it. Here's how exciting this is. So exciting news. I'm going to read every comment on the article that you put up. Okay, I'm done.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we knew it was coming, we knew it was going to happen, and it's nice for the people who have Xbox One, prefer that to their 360, but it's just expected at this point almost.
Yeah, I really don't care. And let's talk a little more about E3 as a whole here, because then you probably will understand why I personally don't care much about World of Tanks being on the Xbox One. Let's talk about the big three first.
The fact that that was the fourth biggest piece of news we came up with
Yeah, I mean,
that's something to say about how good E3 was.
As far as free to play goes, man, it was not good. It was not good. Let's go with the big three first. Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. We watched their conferences. We watched the conferences for publishers and developers outside of those main presentations that are doing things exclusively or joint on different consoles. What was your impression? Let's start with Microsoft, and we'll keep this brief because we got a lot of them to run through. But what was your overall impression of the Microsoft conference? Because I can sum it up for me in one word.
Oh God, it all kind of blends together after a little while, and I thought it was all right. I mean, compared to last year when they just got absolutely fried for how they handled the Xbox One, I thought they did pretty well. I thought it was a good comeback. They showed off a lot of good stuff, none of which comes immediately to mind right now, but
They also showed off backwards compatibility
right backwards
with the
compatibility.
Xbox 360. Now, initially, that's only going to be about 100 titles or so, but kind of like they did with the 360 onto the original Xbox, they'll open up more and more titles over time. You'll be able to get them digitally, or you can throw your disc in and play it if you own the game. Of course, they threw Mass Effect out there as the example of a day one release. There's already titles that play. I think they're up to like 22 or 23 as of this recording from an article that I read earlier. So that was kind of a big thing for them to kind of jab back at Sony's ridiculously priced PlayStation Now service.
Hmm.
But overall, Microsoft for me was just kind of meh,
Nah.
meh. I think Microsoft maybe made a little bit of ground up when you compare their presentation this year to last year, but it wasn't very far for me. I own 35 freaking video game consoles, okay? 35. Because I collect them. I still don't own an Xbox One. And after Microsoft's presentation, I still feel no inclination to go and buy one. There isn't a title that makes me want to do it yet, that whether it's internal to Microsoft or from some outside third-party developer. There isn't a feature of the system that makes me want to do it. There's no reason for me yet to move on from my Xbox 360 at this point, and World of Tanks certainly isn't going to be it, so what do I care that it's launching on July 28th?
Well, how about that? I forget what it's called, but basically the Microsoft Early Access.
Yeah, Yeah, because it's working so well on Steam.
Oh, it's working well, all right.
Yeah, love that money. Early
Yeah.
access. They did try and pump up this year, like how indie they are, which I
Mm.
thought was funny. It was like, no, look, really, we like indie developers. No, really, we mean it. We mean it. Look, here's like 8. We love them. They're great. It wasn't a bad conference. It was slightly better than or presentation. It was slightly better than last year for me, but I kind of give it a meh. I'm gonna give it
Yeah.
like a C on an A B C D
First of all,
F scale.
I have to figure out if you're going 1 through 10
No,
or
I'm
a
not
C.
going 1 through
Now
10.
you're a
We
C.
always change it. We always change it. I'm going to give them a C, maybe even a C minus, because last year was definitely a D or below. So I'll give it a C minus,
I'll give them a B minus.
a
I
B
think
minus,
they did well
a
enough.
little more general or a little more generous.
Yeah.
What about Sony? You know what? Let's save Sony because I want to go to Nintendo.
Okay.
Nintendo lost for me.
Really?
I think Nintendo lost in my
You're
book.
talking about the big 3 consoles? Okay, if you're just talking
Yeah,
about.
they're digital because they did the digital presentation thing.
Which I loved, but
I kind of thought it was cool, as far as just presentational aspect. I could have gone without the puppets.
oh god, I don't like you anymore.
What? Oh, come on. I could have gone without the puppets. There was so much handheld, like Nintendo DS and DS, 3DS and DS, 3DS XL, and there was so much of that in the presentation. And I do own one, and I play a couple of games here and there, but nice to see like Fire Emblem and stuff like that. But to me, overall, the presentation, it really didn't hit home for me. It was nice to see a new Zelda, and then kind of disappointed by what the new Zelda was, as far as it being a handheld console and changing costumes and whatever. The Ryu reveal was unfortunately leaked ahead of time for them, so they're like one of their big announcements was already leaked ahead of time. And I felt like it missed. I felt like it missed. I felt just kind of underwhelmed by it. I actually am going to score them below Microsoft this year. I'm going to give them a D plus.
Wow.
A D plus. It was just underwhelming. And I kind of expected it, though, because they're not going to be talking about their next console until next year. So they really didn't have that pow moment in this E3 because they're kind of in between their console cycle. So I kind of expected it, but I was really bored by the presentation, if I'm being honest. And I like Nintendo. I'm kind of a Nintendo fanboy, but the presentation bored me. D minus.
No, you're a cranky old man, is what you are.
Oh, I am a cranky old man
You're
now.
the cranky old man this time. Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. I thought Nintendo was cute and fresh, and yeah, it wasn't appealing to necessarily the 30, 40-year-old gamer types, but they're in their wheelhouse. They know what they've got with the handhelds, with the casual stuff, with the amiibos, with the cute little cartoon characters and puppets, because the puppets were great. So yeah, I mean, certainly, like I said, it's not going to be what the hardcore bro gamers are going to be into, but I thought they did really well for what their market is.
But come on, the presentation overall, I get not making, like, here's our product lineup, which is geared towards certain age groups and stuff. That's fine. I totally get that, Here's a Professor Layton game, and it's geared towards this type of market, so we're going to show it off. I'm not bashing them on the content. They showed off the content that they're going to have. Mario Maker looks cool. But the presentation itself it felt like it was geared towards children, and this was E3. This is industry insiders, press. You're not going to get 12-year-olds running around E3 and coming to see your presentation. This is a showcase to an older audience. Yes, your product may be geared towards a younger audience in some respects, not all respects, but the presentation just felt like geared towards a younger audience. It kind of just turned me off a little bit. I don't know.
Cranky old man.
Maybe. Sony gets a B plus for me. However, I am willing to concede that most of the good news in Sony's presentation, which I thought was very well done, most of the big things that probably give Sony the win for me have nothing to do with Sony. Sony just paid money to be able to reveal them in their presentation rather than in other presentations. Most notably, of course, Shenmue 3 and its Kickstarter, which got funded immediately. And, of course, Final Fantasy VII's PlayStation 4 remake. So I'm going to give Sony a B. Let's go with a B minus. I think the presentation was solid and entertaining. The content may not be coming directly from Sony, but they shelled out the money to make sure it was in their presentation. So I got to give them credit there. I give them a B minus. Out of the big three, I think Sony walked away the clear, better presentation and better overall appeal of content for the next year out of Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony.
You see, this is interesting, though. We talk about there not being a whole lot of free-to-play stuff mentioned. Did you see anything from Daybreak out there?
Nope.
Because they're no longer part of Sony.
Nope.
So, yeah, that suits me like it was a big difference to me. So,
Grade for Sony?
Maybe a C plus. Thought they were all right, but
You're putting them below Microsoft.
yeah, I am actually.
You think Microsoft put on a better presentation, better content, just overall better?
Not by much. I give
Wow.
Microsoft a B minus.
Wow, I think you're silly.
I think I
there you
don't
go.
have a console and probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
There you go. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of E3, free-to-play news and non-free-to-play news. Speaking of free-to-play news, Cabal 2. This wasn't E3, but we did get news this week. Cabal 2 going into open beta July 2nd. No wipe, so it's effectively a launch. The game you've been waiting for forever, if you're a Cabal player, is finally coming out. Is it too little, too late in your book, Jason?
I don't know that it was ever going to be enough in my book. I mean, I saw the game. They gave me a little demo of it at PAX South. And I know they're going on about how it's got great combat, got the combo system or whatever. To me, it's just another tab-targeting Korean MMO. It's just like, I've seen it before. I'm not that interested in it, and I'll probably not play it.
I'll be playing it. I mean, obviously, I got to do a first look on it, but I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what they're doing different because every trailer I've seen right now is exactly like you say. It seems like more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. I want to get in there and see really because I have this like this mental block where I'm like, I gotta find something unique here. Let me find something unique, and I'm hoping there's something in there for Cabal 2. But open beta July 2nd, just around the corner. Let's slide over and get the weekly balls. Why don't you go first, sir?
Of course. I give a da bomb to Nintendo because I love their puppets.
God.
They just had fun with their presentation. Here's the thing, because you watch the Square Enix one that came right after, and yeah, they had a lot of their stuff, spoiled by Sony earlier on. But man, the Square Enix was just like, we have a new game and it will be exciting. And
Yeah, I'm a Square Enix fanboy,
well,
readily admit, but I thought their presentation was lackluster too.
yeah.
Please stop getting the executives from Japan to speak in such a monotone. Like they sound bored about their stuff. Too.
I grant that their English is not the best, and they're probably being cautious about it. But man, then
Right.
steal Aisha Tyler from Ubisoft if you have to.
Oh God, please don't, please don't. I
Oh,
can't stand Aisha Tyler.
Oh,
Oh,
I can't take you anywhere.
no, apparently
You don't
not.
like
Apparently
Aisha
not.
Tyler, you don't like puppets.
I give I like Aisha Tyler's stand up. I don't like when she's just when she's trying to improv. It's just not good for me. I don't know. A very very lovely lady, very talented. I give a dub bomb to Square Enix. Yeah, the presentation overall was kind of disappointing for me, but you can't deny that finally a Final Fantasy VII remake. Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's only been way too long for your fans to be screaming for this. Your stock shot up like $22 that day as soon as you announced it. So don't let it go back down. Keep doing what your fans want you to do. Now don't screw it up. I don't know how you would, but I'm worried that you might find a way, a la Final Fantasy XIV version 1.0. From the viewers, Genesee Gaming says, Zach is right. Echo of Soul is a guilty pleasure. I shouldn't like it, but I still like it. I think you're nuts.
I think you're all nuts.
That's all right. I like some shitty games too. It's all right.
All right, this is Breckner Catalan. It says A-bomb to all MMOs that support add-ons but don't let people know they do. Just look at Elder Scrolls Online. The default UI is terrible, but with add-ons, you can make the game that much more interesting and informative. P.S. By the time they release EverQuest next, the game engine and concept will be old. Yeah, could be. I mean, that's the thing about Elder Scrolls Online too, is they want it to be this totally immersive world where you don't have a minimal UI and people want add-ons with 8,000 bits of UI on there because they're used to.
Give
I
me
watched
hot bars.
I watched someone play. I watched someone. I don't. No, it wasn't even WoW. It was actually Lotro. I watched someone play a little bit up, and they had like 6 different add-ons on for all their stuff. The actual space for the character was like this big. It's like,
I watch Mr. Happy play Final
watch.
Fantasy when he's raiding, and his screen is like that too. There's just shit everywhere. Everywhere. Snowman says, coming from someone who's played Ion since 3.0 up to now, I think you guys have missed far more combat content than you think you have. Yes, combat is really slow pre-40, but that's only due to the gear you wear. Ion is more or less a PvP-focused game, and anyone who's played the game past 4.0 will tell you that PvE is repetitive and boring. It's the fastest-paced PvP aspect that really shines in this. Simply, YouTube Ion PvP 4.7, current patch, and you'll see how much more fast-paced it is compared to what you experienced in the earlier levels. But honestly speaking, if you're playing Ion to see the PvE side of things, save yourself the stress and leave it alone. Snowman, thanks for the breakdown. Thank
how
you.
long till I get to the PvP again? What was it?
Level 40. Well, when it gets good.
It's 25 to play the PvP.
According to Snowman.
40 to when it gets interesting. So just no. Sorry, that doesn't work. All right, this comes from Cookie Dough FK1. As someone playing on a low population server in ArcAge, I am looking forward to the server merges. There is so much land right now that most of it is going unused. I think with the merges you'll be able to get land. I almost read that as put the N as an I. You'll be able to get land, but you will have to settle for getting land in less sought after spots.
After the server mergers, everybody gets laid.
But you'll have to get laid in less sought after spots. Wow, okay. Extra players are hopefully going to make open world PvP as good as it was at launch. And yeah, I mean that's the point of server mergers. If you do have low pop servers, help you get more peeps.
I like hearing good ArcAge, like good stories from players,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Cookie Dough, that because it's just so much negative that we've talked about this with WildStar. It's like if you've never played WildStar and you just Google it, you're like, I'm never playing that. Just reading things that people have written. And ArcAge suffers from the same thing. So thank you, Cookie Dough, for giving us some good news maybe on these server evolution, as they're calling it.
It's not a merge, it's an evolution.
Right. Revelatia says Guild Wars 1 had the best combat slash gameplay system. We were talking about comparing a few games last week with Zach. The skill engine was the best. There will be no more games like that ever. When ArenaNet abandoned the game, the community migrated to Ion and some to Terra. I think less than 10% chose Guild Wars 2. They should rename Guild Wars 2 to World of Warcraft 2. Guild Wars 2 is the same as Echo of Soul. It has nice graphics and features, but the combat system is dry and not make you enjoying when you actually activate skills. I don't know if I agree with some of that, but more power to you.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, it has nice graphics, nice features. I think the combat system is kind of... I actually like Guild Wars 2 combat system.
There are issues with it, certainly, but it's not Echo of Soul.
Right.
Come on now.
Last week's question of the week, we asked, what do you think of Terra's Steam client being region-locked based on publisher disputes? Zanika says, I can understand region locks to an extent, but also believe players should have the option of playing with their friends in other countries. It's just one more thing amongst many that's dividing the online gaming community. On the flip side of this, there were some people that said, and obviously you can, we mentioned it on the show, that Terra, you can still play the NA client, you just got to go download the client from the website. You can't get it off of Steam anymore. And there's some people that were chiming in on, Steam now having at least a $5 minimum so that you can access things, that it's a money grab anyway, just go get the client off the sites. So, yeah. It's not technically region locked. You could go and do it. But, of course, you're going to have maybe some issues with latency and things.
All right, Terra Nova 667 says, it's clear the introduction of the US version of Terra is Terra being on Steam brought a bucket load more players over to that version, evident by the need of a new PvE server. But the question is, were they brand new EU players that saw it advertised on Steam and thought they would try it out, or if they were EU players that were simply waiting for a more convenient way to jump to the US version? My guess would be more EU players jumping ship.
We agreed. We both said that last week.
Yes, Steam has more advertising power, but it's an already established MMO. You may get one or two in the EU that never heard of it and tried it out, having seen it on Steam, but not at the level of increase that the US version saw. I don't see what benefits Gameforge get from the region block if players in the EU want to play the US version. They still can by downloading the client from en masse. As always been the case, this simply adds more hate to the mountain that Gameforge has for poor handling of the EU license.
And Gameforge isn't
Popular.
this isn't new to
Oh,
them either. They do it with multiple games. I don't understand, and we kind of talked about this a few weeks ago, I think, where if you know that things are that bad and you see something like this, where as soon as it goes available on Steam, a significant portion of your player base jumps ship to the point that you file disputes to try and start locking this down a little bit. It's significant enough that you want it to stop. Why don't you also see that in as a, hey, maybe we're doing something a little bit wrong, and yes, we're making
come
money.
on. We're not doing anything wrong.
Yes, we're
It's
making
those
money.
Evil players, disgruntled players. If it would cost money and time to try to fix something. Come on, let's just legislate this out
How
of the
do
way.
you not see it as, yeah, we're probably making money now, but we could make more money by doing this a little bit better and increasing our player base.
Is that 100%? Are you absolutely guaranteed we'd make more money?
Of course you would. Look at how many people jumped ship from you to go to Steam.
Yeah, we're making good money now. We don't want to rock the boat.
The Green Human says, I was going to hop into Terra again, and it sounded a bit fun when you talked about it, then realized I can't play it through Steam, so not going. I'll probably never play it again. I'm assuming Green Human is EU-based.
Yeah.
At that point. Our question of the week, you've heard our grades for E3's Big Three. What are yours? Which of the Big Three, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, won at E3 this year, and why? Make sure you put your dub bombs and A-bombs or questions for the hosts in the comments below on mmobomb.com or over there on the YouTubes. We'll be sure to throw them in next week's show and get them answered. That's it for our E3 wrap-up. Jason, where can everybody find you?
Find me on the Twitter. Twinters?
Twinters?
Ah.
No, you do not have your own social network. Stop it.
I actually looked that up. Twinter was not
Twinter.
available as a name when I tried. Find me on the Twitter at WinterInformal, and find me streaming twitch.tv/JasonWinter. Lotro Sundays are going great, by the way.
Oh.
Got a lot of people there.
Very cool. Very cool. You almost convinced me. You almost convinced me.
With that $10 package.
Yeah, Steam. So the Steam Summer Sale, before we part ways here, has had like a lot of different free-to-play bundle-y type things going on for expansions and digital goods and stuff like that. And Jason linked me the Lotro one that had all the expansions on it. And I think it was for what, like $20?
$10.
$10.
It's actually the first 4 expansions, so not like the most recent 2, but yeah.
And he says, "Hey, here you go. You've been debating doing it on previous deals. This is the best deal. You might as well go do it." And I was like, "This game's gonna be gone in a year and a half, and I'm so far behind. You'd need to school me." So I didn't do it. I saved $10 for once. For once.
But he still has like 83 copies of WildStar.
I do. My name's Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1. Or, of course, come on over to MMO Bomb. Check out all the videos and content and contests and giveaways we put up there. Until next time, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.